Hi there. This is continuing in the series. This is number 3. This one deals with just figures. These are large figures. I just wanted to mention that a lot of these models that you see that are in the case are usually, a lot of them are in books that I wrote. Sorry that it's reversed because I'm not doing this on my phone. I'm doing this off my camera on the computer. So anyway, you can get these books on Amazon, but I think Barnes & Noble and eBay carry some of them too. But anyway, even though I show you pictures and talk a little bit about it, on some of them, more detailed information would be in the book. And then, there's one like that. There's one on Jeeps. I do cars. This one has different vehicles in it. The last one I did is actually just a picture book, and it's pretty thick. And it doesn't have any information on how I built the models because that's in the other books, or some of these pictures nobody's ever seen before. I had to dig them out from years past, and any of the good ones I put them in here. This is just a coffee table book. But anyway, there's a link in the description down there, I think, in every posting, so you can see all the different kits that I built. So I just wanted to mention those in case you had more questions about any of the models that are, not all the models that I'm showing that are in the case are in these books, but a lot of them are. A funny thing is that, this would probably be blasphemy to most people, but a lot of models that I build are what I would consider a shelf model, meaning I enjoy building them, but I don't enjoy storing them once they're built. They won't all fit in my case. It's impossible. So a lot of them I sell, and I have done that since probably the 1980s. So I would go to a show, I would have a table, I would go to the show and sell the built ones, and I would sell parts and whatever I had, so I could take that money and buy more models that I could build. So that's how, one way I sort of funded being able to buy new models, is I would sell old ones that I built. And I still do that sometimes today. I either sell it at a show, or sometimes I throw something on eBay. But I know a lot of people probably have their models for 50 years, but I can't. I have no place to. I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to clean them and dust them off and whatever. I don't want to spend money on cases for them all. It's just not me. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. I mean, it's just not me. So I don't do that with every model, obviously, because I'm taking pictures of the ones that are in my case. And the reasons they're in the case is because there's something that I really enjoy doing and I just like it and I don't want to part with it. Or another side of that is it's rare. I enjoy building it, but it's also rare, or it was very expensive. So, you can't recoup your money. I'm not selling the models in the parts to recoup, it doesn't work that way. Whatever I get at the time, it's still cash coming in, and I use that money to buy another model. So that's how I do it. I know most people probably don't, but I just recycle it. Let's call it recycling. And plus, those models and parts that I do sell, whether at a show or on eBay in the past, they went to somebody, another modeler, that's going to enjoy them one way or another. So that's a good thing. The parts get reused. Some of those parts might be on other models that they built and show up at a model show. Who knows? So that's a good thing. Obviously, I'm not going to throw them away. So anyway, here's a third video. This one's figures, not cars. And I hope you enjoy it. And also thank you for all the likes. Thank you for subscribing, bookmarking, and thank for all your comments. Comments are very helpful. You're helping me, so I really appreciate it. On to the video. Okay, so continuing on with what's in the case series. So in some of these that you'll see soon, and some other ones are very hard to photograph or video in a case. So I put them here on the video and in such a way by themselves, and then you'll be able to see them much better as usual. This time I'm going to focus on figures. I like building figures. I like painting them most of all. I'm not really great at painting their faces yet. I just haven't had enough practice. I get better each time. I just need to do more figures. However, I'll show you what I have. Now these figures are tall. So I'll show you the first one here. Actually, let me prop it up here. This one doesn't stand by itself. I need to make a base for it. So I have to pull back on it because it's very large. And excuse my shaky hands. This is I believe this is a Horizon kit. It's vinyl. Probably has around 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 6, 7 pieces. I've built many vinyl kits, different kinds. I don't have any issue with them. They're actually very detailed more than a plastic figure. And they go together fairly well. Very easy to work with. You just need some CA glue most of the time, and that's all you need. Sometimes they just pop together, some of the parts. Seams are usually a minimum, just a tiny little bit around the seam, and it works just fine. This is a Terminator 2, I think. So now this figure here, I'll see if I can measure it. So it's about 14 inches high. Going by that, let's see. So it's a pretty good size kit. I have to lean him up in the case. I have a base that I temporarily made to glue his feet to or attach his feet to. I just haven't had the time to do it yet. I haven't decided how I want to make the base look before I put his feet on there. But this kit is kind of old. Back when there were Horizon kits everywhere. Of course, they're long out of business. But I had fun building it. It's a good subject. So let's take a look at a second one. And I'll put this one over here. Sorry for the empty space, but some of these are large. So this is a dragon kit. They did a whole series of at least Marvel characters. I don't know that they did any DC, but they might have. Again, this kit here is probably like 11 inches, 11 and a half. That's with the base. I made the base. It's just a custom base to hold it. What's funny is these dragon figure kits, they all come with a round plastic base. It's about 5 inches across, maybe 6. And this kit came with one, I believe. But anyway, the standard base that they put in all the kits, this kit will not fit on it because his legs are too spread apart to even fit on that base. So anyway, I made my own base. There is some articulation in the arms, so I didn't glue them shut or glue them in place, and sometimes they fall off. So let's see, we'll put it back on there. But this was it's just a really cool figure to me. I really enjoyed assembling it. Very easy to assemble. It's not a snap kit. You do have to use glue. But I really enjoyed putting it together. I enjoyed painting it. This is the color that it was on the box. I just went by the box as a paint guide. And like I say, it's a big kit. How wide is that apart? I mean, you can see it's almost 12 inches across. So pretty good size to fill up the case. And here, I could spin this around. We can see the back of it here. He's a little dusty. Even though I have these models in a case, somehow dust, and it's a glass case, somehow dust gets in there. But you can see all the detail on the back. A very detailed kit. But all these are put in usually subsections and then attached. to a part that's on the inside on there. It's very, very easy to put together. The directions are pretty good. And of course you can paint it any color you want. You don't have to paint like the box like I did. I could have just as easily painted it metallic red. But it definitely looked good as blue. And it definitely has a really cool pose to it. I think you might be able to move the head around, but I'm not going to do that in case it falls off. So let's go to the next one. Probably the weight on this one is the base more than the figure, because the figure is made out of hard plastic like any other model. I'm sure everybody has seen this kit and looked at it. This was actually an AMT figure. This is solid resin. There are some metal parts like this here for the jack-o'-lantern and the nunchuck. I think, no, wait a minute, it's not a nunchuck. I'm sorry, it's a mace. But the chain is metal. I think that was the only parts that were different. The rest of it, I believe the rest of it was resin. I painted it more or less like the box as a guide, but I didn't necessarily stick to that. Most of this, if not all of it, is painted with Vallejo acrylic paints out of a bottle. I don't believe I used any kind of airbrush or spray paint at all on it. Maybe on this helmet here, possibly. It looks like a metallic red. That was probably a Tamiya color. The decals are random. I mean, this just reminded me of some kind of old biker from the 60s or 70s, and I wanted to put the decals, not even a biker, just like a hot rodder or a race car dude from then, and I just wanted to try to give that effect with the car racing decals, you know, Hearst and Goodyear, and it's got the Cobra emblem on the helmet, and you know, remember a lot of those helmets back even for motorcycles used to have that metallic finish on them. It looked more like bass boat paint with big metal flakes, a little more than this, but I probably should have used some Testors metallic to replicate that. They got bigger flakes in them. But it was a very fun build. All the parts fit, and it just was fun. And you can't go wrong. I mean, you could paint it any way you want. So there's no good way or bad way. You just put it together. I want to say it comes in a really nice package. The package is well decorated. It's a famous artist, and I forget his name. But it comes well packaged in like a styrofoam insert inside where each part is laid out very nicely so it doesn't get broken. So AMT did a super good job on it. And when these kits were out, when they first came out, they were not that much money compared to other plastic kits. And this thing here is, let's see how high. So he's about, let's turn it over. So he's about 6. I'm doing this wrong. I'm trying to look through the camera. It's not working. So he's about 9 inches high at the top of his hat. Pretty a fair size. There's no scale on this kit, so it is what it is. But it was fun to build. If you see one of these kits and it looks interesting, I don't know how much they go for now, because they're probably, everybody that wanted one probably has one. You might see one on eBay or something once in a while. But it was definitely a fun kit. So let's go on to the next one and see what we got. Now this one is a solid resin cast figure. Technically the only extra parts I added was I added the string from the bow, which is made out of wire. Her arm did break. I broke her arm off accidentally, and I did have to drill it out and pin it and repair it, which was no big deal. So let's see if we can get that here. Get most of it in there. She sits about, how tall is this one? This one is about 8 inches high. There's no scale on this. It's just a cast resin figure. You can get these figures. I got it on Amazon. You can probably get them other places. They come in like a white, or sometimes they're They have a bronze patina to it. This one might have had a bronze, but I just primer over that and then paint it any way I want. So um, let's see if it has a. It doesn't have her name on it, but she's some kind of something like Greek mythology or something like that, or somebody's mythology, and I just enjoyed painting it. That's my favorite part of not necessarily building a figure kit, putting them together, but painting them is what I enjoy the most. So, it had the wolf already on it. I like painting all these different leather colors and getting all that. I enjoy that. And then we'll just turn it around on the back. Now, a lot of times when I paint figures, like you'll be looking at it and you can use most of this is probably Vallejo acrylic paint. The reason it's shiny in some places is because when you paint with acrylic, like Vallejo or any other acrylic, you want to make sure you seal it, because if you don't, every time you touch it or handle it with your hand, you're going to rub the paint right off. So if you seal it, you don't have to worry about that. So the sealer that I use on this one had a slight semi-gloss or satin coating to it, but technically it should have been flat. I should have hit this whole thing with a can of dull coat, which I've done before on a lot of other models and figures. I would usually, if that was the case, let's say you're mixing gloss, semi-gloss, and satin and matte acrylic paints, but I just paint the whole thing. Once you're done, most in the figure, everything's going to need to be flat, or matte. So once you do that, just hit it with a can of dull coat and poof, everything will be matte. So that's what I've done in the past. And surprisingly, I've used dull coat on lacquer. I've used it on enamel. I've used it on acrylic. I've used it on hardware paint. I mean, I've used it on everything I can think of, and it works on just about every paint, I guess, because it doesn't matter what you spray it on. Somehow it takes the gloss right out of the paint job, which is great because when everything is evenly matte, not like highs and lows, semi, matte or whatever. Well, when it's all matte, it just, to me, pulls it all together. But yeah, she has a little bit of a sheen because the one that I use, and I probably used a Vallejo one, that's why it's like that. So, but I enjoy this. I like this figure. I'd like to get some more of them, but they're not cheap. They can run from $50 to $100 or more, and that's just not painted. So, but it was a good kit. It's got a lot of weight to it. So let's see what else we got. So this is a Ymir. I think this is from 20,000, or Beast from 20,000 Fathoms maybe, or 20,000 Million Miles, something or another, sci-fi movie. I should have wrote all that down before I made the video, right? I was at a Nationals. I've been to 3 Nationals. I live in Florida, so I've been to 3 Nationals, one in Miami in the 80s and 2 in Orlando. And from then on, I think that's the only 3 Nationals we've had since the 80s. But anyway, I was at one of them in Orlando, and these kits were in a giant box, and they were $4. I wish I had bought more of them. But I had never, at that time, I don't think I'd ever put a vinyl kit together. So I just bought one. Who would have known? It was a good kit. The parts fit together. I like vinyl kits. You can see all this detail would be almost impossible to do in plastic. I mean, yeah, you could do it, but paying somebody to make the mold with all this detail would cost a lot of money and a lot of time. So it was a good kit. I enjoyed it, and a very simple painting, just different colors of green, and the eyes and maybe the teeth. But let's see how high he is. I don't remember. Let's see. This is about 9 inches tall, and well over 12 inches if you go sideways, so horizontally. It was a fun kit, And I don't know that I'd build another one. I mean, what do I need two of these for? But it's definitely a fun kit to have. I had a base that I made for it out of, I had a funny, a fancy plastic cover that came for I think it was out of a container that held like a pie that you eat. I had used part of that. Then I went over to like Home Depot or Lowe's, and I bought a floor tile, the sticky kind that you peel in the back that looked like marble, because I think the scenes for this movie take place over in Greece or Italy or something. So it looked like marble, and I put that on. Since it was so sticky, I cut it round to fit this pie thing and put it on it, and it worked pretty well. But I think that fell apart later on after a few years, and I threw it away. Plus, it takes up a lot of room for him to sit on, and room inside the glass case is at a premium, so it's easier to slide him in there like this. So let's look at another one. We'll put him off to the side. What else we got? We have... So this was a vinyl kit. I believe this is Geometrics. Whoa, I got to back him up there. Hold on. I'm going to lean, well, let's back him up. So you can see I'm going to have to lean him on the wall. I haven't made a base for him of Worf either. But who doesn't like Worf, right? Come on. So this was a vinyl kit. I had fun doing it as usual. Didn't have any issues. Everything fit. For some reason, his pants are shiny, and because I evidently forgot to hit it with dull coat. And it's always aggravated me, but later on, of course, it was dry and it had been like that for a long time, and the model's all finished. But I was afraid to hit it with dull coat later because I was afraid I would mess up the paint. So I've never done that. But yeah, it's a good kit. It has a very good likeness. I mean, whoever did the sculptor did an excellent job. And I like that it has the thing on there, all this here. So you definitely have to primer these types of kits, because if you don't, the paint will not stick. So just so you know. And here's a little tidbit. You see these two little things here on there? During the television series, you ever seen these round ones especially? You see that round one? You remember when those were digital? A little round, gray, silver, plastic, digital clock that you could peel off and stick on the dash on your car? That's what that was, and that was the same thing. It was just square, basically. It's of course, the camera on when you're making TV, it doesn't pick that up. They're not gonna do a close up of that on TV, so you don't know that. But talk about trying to save a few dollars on the budget, Now the kit came with a batleth, but it was 3 separate pieces, and it was made out of resin. It was impossible to glue 3 pieces together, and it's so fragile to begin with. So I traced around it and made this out of a piece of flat stock, and it does work. So it just has, if he's standing straight up, which if I had a base, it does work. It will sit in his arms. But this is, again, another good kit. Let's see how tall this is, though. So Worf stands up at about 10 and a half, almost 11. So living large. Good kit, though. I recommend it if you come across one somewhere and you like Worf, get it. I think this is the last one. This is another solid cast figure, which means you can paint it or do it any way you want, which I did. She's a witch figure, but this was loads of fun because she's blue. I didn't have to get all crazy about making sure her face looked perfect, because everybody knows what a human looks like with skin tones and everything. But when they're blue, you're like, you got a little more leeway there. So, and then I had fun painting this and all this here, the snake and the cap there, the skull there with the fire. And this has some weight to it. It's just solid cast. There's no separate parts. All you do is you get this, you primer it, and you paint it. So, and I really enjoyed doing it, as usual. And you can see the flames at the bottom there. Now this is one kit that it was a rare time when I used my airbrush, because I wanted to blend all this a little different than with a brush. I probably tried it with a brush and I didn't like it. So I wanted to use my airbrush around here, and that's what I did. And those would be Vallejo paints. And I can see that this one has a little bit of gloss on it too, because I used the Vallejo sealer to make sure that the paint wouldn't rub off. Very important. And I didn't use that sealer just because I heard of that. I kept experiencing that, because when you're working on the model, you're picking it up, you're handling, you're rotating it, you're doing like I'm doing, and then the next thing you know, all that paint's on your hand because it rubs right off. And then when it rubs off, you've got to go back and touch the model up. So it's always best to seal it. But yeah, it came out nice. I mean, you can't go wrong. Technically, I could have painted her any color I wanted to, and it wouldn't have made a difference. So those are what I have for the figures that I've built that are in my case. All the I have more figures, but they're 112 or 116, and I'll put those in another video if you like figures. You can watch for that one soon. And this is just another facet of modeling that I like. I'll do any model, no matter what it is, if it seems like it's something interesting and I can afford it. So always branch out and always have that secret model somewhere. I know I see these guys that got a wall of cars and they show their stash, but there's always a couple secret models in there. I call them secret models because they don't want anybody to know that they got a model of a figure or a model of a plane or a couple of tanks. They kind of like scan right over those, or they just like, oh, there's some tanks down there at the bottom, ignore those. And then of course they got 1,000 car models. But that's okay. But if you enjoy building a model, you should never worry about the subject matter and never worry about the scale. This figure here, like for instance, doesn't even have a scale. But when you buy it, I got this one from Amazon as well. When you buy these, usually the description will have will tell you how tall it is or how high it is. And you can judge the height by the price to see if you're getting a deal. If you paid, I probably didn't pay much for this one. So let's say I paid $35 for it, and I could justify that. But I mean, if it was 80, no, it's not tall enough, If it's $80, it must be a figure I really want, or it needs to be taller, Anyway, but that's what it is. So I hope you enjoyed them, and we're gonna look at. I have more models to take pictures of or videos of in the series. We're working our way through the model case. Not one shelf at a time, but more or less, here and there. I'm grouping them together as the same kind, so that if let's say you don't like figures or you have no interest in model figures, you'll know that that's a video about model figures, and you can just skip it. But if you like them, you might go straight to that one and see what's up with that. So enjoy your modeling, and I'll see you at the next video.